The big thing we have is more important than anything we can talk about is you can't let lunatics have nuclear weapons, and we've stopped that. And that should have been stopped on a couple of other occasions, too, with different countries, but they didn't do that.
The ceasefire is over. The war is not. The U.S. hitting Iran hard overnight, and President Trump now warning the response may have only just begun. They hit a couple of ships, and so we hit them much harder. When they hit, we hit 10 times harder. You know, we hit much harder than they do. We have a lot better equipment than they do. We may even, somebody asked before, do you think you'll hit them tonight? I said, we might. Yeah, we might. It is 1 o'clock on the East Coast, top of a new hour. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. John, good to have you back today.
Good to be back after spending a lovely day in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania yesterday. I'm John Roberts in Washington. This is America Reports. The U.S. hit nearly 100 targets across Iran over 4 hours in the largest strike since ceasefire talks began. That was way back in April. The fresh attack comes after Iranian attacks on commercial shipping in the highly contested Strait of Hormuz. Nathan Sales is here. He'll join us in moments on where things go from here. But we begin with our Fox team coverage. Kicking things off, Lucas Tomlinson standing by in Turkey, where President Trump is wrapping that NATO summit. But first, let's get to Mike Tobin. He's live from Tel Aviv. Mike?
Hey, moments ago, Sandra, we just heard from Iran's foreign ministry saying that the memorandum of understanding was never set up on the basis of trust, he said, but rather the clear mechanism of commitment for commitment, meaning that both sides need to be in on it. Well, what we've heard from President Trump quite clearly is almost a promise for additional strikes to go into Iran tonight. Now, the strikes we saw last night were increased intensity. 8 times as many targets were hit compared to 12 days ago, the last time the U.S. hit Iran responding to attacks on shipping. Now, a U.S. source says Air Force and naval jets were used in this attack. Weapons like Tomahawk missiles were not used. In Turkey, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth gave details about what was hit.
A lot of small craft that they were trying to harass shipping with, so that was a big part of what we targeted. Underground facilities where they were storing drones or missiles, coastal defense sites, radar sites, surveillance sites, anything used to harass shipping in the Strait of Hormuz.
So far, we've seen Iran respond by firing into their neighbors, Kuwait and Bahrain. The Kuwaiti army stated that 2 missiles and 13 drones were fired at them, and they were all intercepted. Sirens sounded in both Kuwait and Bahrain. Mohammed Ghalibaf posted that the U.S. is violating the Memorandum of Understanding and wrote, "The era of bullying and extortion is over. It leads nowhere. We don't fold." And all of it happens after 3 oil tankers were struck by Iran on Tuesday. The tankers disobeyed Iranian directives to follow their approved shipping route and instead followed the route established by Oman and backed by the U.S. Now, the U.S. has also revoked the license that allowed Iran to legally sell oil in the open market. That's the first time Iran has been able to sell oil for U.S. dollars in years. Iran has been suspected for years of selling oil to China illegally. The impact on shipping is immediate. 41 ships crossed the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, 7 today. Sandra?
All right, Mike Tobin live out of Tel Aviv for us. Mike, thank you. John?
Sandra, President Trump wrapping up the NATO summit a few minutes ago, and after the Iran war just exploded back onto the world stage, the stakes for the alliance just got even higher. Lucas Tomlinson with the latest. He is live in Ankara for us. Hi, Lucas.
Well, good afternoon, John. The press conference with President Trump has ended. We're just moments away from Turkish President Recep Erdogan taking the stage here in Ankara. The 2-day NATO summit has concluded. President Trump is going to the airport, and he is going to fly, but not use the same Qatari royal family gifted Air Force One that he flew over here, the brand new red, white, and blue Air Force One. That jet is going to the UK, and President Trump said that is because he wants to show that jet to the different service members, go to some of the different bases. But the big headlines out of the press conference that just wrapped up, John, was President Trump, despite launching airstrikes into Iran last night and saying that he might do it again this evening, he says that he does not want to return to war. And that was the precursor to that bite you played off the top of the show where he says, when they hit us, we hit back 10 times harder. The other major headline from this press conference is President Trump said he hasn't made a decision yet whether or not to send fifth-generation F-35 stealth fighter jets to Turkey. Remember, he said it was a decision he was going to make. He talked about his warm relationship with the Turkish president, a man he's known for years, going back to his first term. Turkey, a long-standing ally of the United States. In fact, they were the first troops to be sent to Korea in the Korean War after the United States went to the UN asking for volunteers. A long history between Turkey and the United States. And, of course, the U.S. military keeps nuclear weapons here, John. It's a long-time ally, but many questions at the press conference we just attended about the war with Iran. President Trump saying he does not want to restart the war. The question I was going to ask is, President Trump yesterday said that they're revoking Iran's license to sell oil. My question would have been, John, how do you enforce that without a naval blockade? Earlier in the day, when President Trump was meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, he was asked about a blockade. He said he may put it back, but he wasn't definitive. But once again, President Trump is departing from Turkey momentarily, but he's not taking the new Air Force One, the red, white, and blue one, gifted from the Qatari royal family, back home. He's taking one of the older Air Force One jets back home, John.
All right, we'll keep following that part of this. We'll keep following that part of the story as well. Lucas, thank you for the update. Sandra?
All right, let's bring in Nathan Sales now.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.